What's up guys and welcome back. In today's video we are going to look at data tables in Flutterflow, from how you can implement sort, the filter, how you can implement search, pagination and tie other actions to the entries on your data table. Now fasten your seatbelt and let's get right into it. Before we continue, let me show you what we are going to get by the end of this video. This is a little spin-off from the latest Flutterflow update that I recently made. So I'm going to link it up here if you have not watched it, the February update. So let's get into it. We have here. Now this is the updated data table. So let's look at the table that we have. This table just shows like a list of employees, as you can see here. Have their name, position, department and salary, and some quick actions I can perform against a particular entry. So here we can start by rows per page. Let's view 10, and this is going to show us 10 entries. We can switch to 15 or 25, sorry, and yeah, it shows 25. Let's get back to 10, and then we can also paginate, like go to the next page, you see the entry continues, or come back to the previous page. Now this is what we have here. So if you click on this eye icon, it's just going to bring up nice animation and then display the employee information. So somebody asked me this question the last time, but I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. So you can click to view this thing. Now on this pen icon, if you click on this pen icon, you'll be able to edit like the name and the salary. That's just a simple thing I made possible to be edited, but you can customize this how you want. And let's say we come here and say this user 30 Eva Martinez, and we want to delete this entry. We can click on this delete button, and it's going to prompt us like, do we want to delete? And if we confirm the delete, it's going to delete and automatically refresh the table, as you can see here. So there's no user with ID 30. Yeah, let's go to search. So for example, if we come here, this is the what we currently have. If we type something like JOHN, like John, to search users that have the name John, we are going to see all of these sorted in this way. Filtered in this way, and it's showing John Doe, Alice Johnson, all the users that have the name John. I'm going to show you how you can achieve that without having to write any custom function, and we can clear the search and everything still remains the same. Okay, the next we want to look at is if we select say 3 users or 4 users at random, and then we click on this button down here, see selected employees. If you click on it, it's just going to display the name of the employees that we have selected down here. Now Flutterflow has a way of doing that with custom function, but I'm going to show you also how you can do it without using a custom function too. So I think that's just the basic functionality that we're going to have by the end of this video. And if you can already, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. This is going to help the channel. All right, so this is my Flutterflow and what I have here. So we are going to be working hand in glove with the documentation, the data table documentation. So here on Supabase, I'm using this employees table. For the beginning, I'm just going to like try to build, like set up a whole like a new data table from afresh so that I can see like the basic things. For the other functionalities, I'll just switch to what we already have here while I explain a couple of concepts so that I can understand better. Okay. So this is an empty page that we have here, and inside this container, we need to display our data table here. And Flutterflow recommends that for us to have access to this data that we can play with, we need to query whatsoever thing that we are querying and have it as a state variable so that we can manipulate and have that data to play with. So this is the data table widget that I've added here. I need number of columns, let me say 5, because I need the ID, name, department and salary, and also actions. Then come down here, I'm just going to leave everything the same. I'm going to change this primary header color to secondary like this, just so it shows like this. Okay, so here I can come in and edit this. This is just like the basic things I need to know about using this particular widget. So I'll edit this header to be just a hash sign. Then I'll do here name, department and salary. And for the next column, one beautiful thing about like this, both the header or the data table header and also the data table cell, is that you can, like, if you see here on this widget tree, you can add other widgets within it. So I'm just going to wrap this text in a container, right? I'm going to wrap widgets in a container so it looks like that. Now this is just like a rough like design that I'm trying to make. Remember, we're going to go back to what we previously have. I just want to show you like everything that's available here. So we have our ID, name, department, salary, and actions. We need to make our data table selectable. So to do that, we check this box. And if you want to hide pagination, you can hide. To just see like how I talked about a lot of these other features, I have that video that I did that you can watch. Okay, so now here comes the big guy. So we need to create a page state variable that is going to hold the data that we want to display on this data table, so that we can then use that page state variable, like the content that it holds, to do our sorting, to write our sorting function and whatnot. So I'm just going to come here and create a page state variable that says list of employees, right? The type is a superbase row and it's a list of employees, and I'm going to confirm. Now on page load, I want to query superbase and fetch the list of employees. So back out of my page, I'm going to click here and you see this, open the action editor. And on page load, what do I want to do? I want to query backend database, and I'll do superbase because that's the database I'm using. We query rows, and the table that I want to query is employees. We order it by the ID, so that it's ascending. The reason I'm ordering by ID is because when you edit a row with superbase, it automatically gets sorted, like it can go below. So we don't want it to be mixed like that. So we want to order it by ID, and it should be increasing. That's just how we want this data to be. So this is going to be called, let's say, employees, like that. And what do we want to do? We want to assign the result of that query that we did above to our page state. So we're going to go to our state management, update page state, the list of employees page state that we created. And what value do we want to do? We want to set value to be equal to the action output that we fetched above, employees, this one. So after doing that, now we have that data that we can play with. And now to generate the rows for this data table, you just click on the data table, right? Then you come here to generate children. What do we want to do? Let's say employee, and we want to use our page state, the list of employees, confirm, and we save. So we have that. And here, what do we want to display under here? Under the data table cell, we can just display this to be the employee item, get row field ID, and the ID. The next is we want to display name. Here we want to display department and salary here. So I'm just going to do that real quick. So we have this showing like this, all of the items showing. And now if we test on run mode, we should be able to see this displaying the data as refreshed. So as you can see, this is it in test mode, and this is the data that we are getting. So we can paginate and go to the next page. We can do our 25 display rows per page and whatnot. So now the next thing we want to do is, let me show you how we can sort based on this ID field and probably based on name. The same concepts remains the same, but let me show you how we can do sorting. So first off, to do sorting, you need to enable sorting on the table header that you want to be able to sort with. So let's come to this first one, the one that takes in the ID, and let's enable like sortable here. As you see on the right, we enable sortable. Now this is going to provide this particular index to be used in our sortable data, right? So here on the data table itself, the data table has a list of actions that you can tie action chains to. So if we come here and we open it, so we have on page change and on sort change. So this is what is going to happen. Like it's going to be listening for when a sort has been changed, and it's going to broadcast like the index that is being sort by and whether it should sort if it's ascending or descending. So it's just going to be toggling that state, and that is where we're going to tie our function. So the documentation says to do sorting, we just need like a sorting function. You can either follow this example. This is a very simple example, and this function should work regardless of whatsoever data type. Not like regardless, the function structure should work regardless of whatever data type that you have. But I'm just going to be creating one using the Copilot so that you can see how you can generate subsequently for your own data type. So let's get into it, and I'm just going to create a new sorting function. I already have one that I was using, like sort employees for the other data table, but let me show you how you can do the sorting yourself. So as the documentation states, when sorting is being triggered, it broadcasts the sort index, therefore the column that is supposed to be sort by, and the order, like is it ascending or descending. So I'm just going to create a new custom function, and I'm going to call it new employee sorting function. Let's just call it like that, because I believe the name of your function is being used by Copilot when you want to generate the code. I don't know, but that's just my understanding. So what do we want to return? First off, we need, like, after sorting, we want to return a list of Superbase rows, right? So Superbase employee row, that's what we want to return. It's a list employees. Now the argument I want to receive is the list of employees. Therefore, the page state list of employees that we have, like the general list of employees that we have. So let's call it employees. And the data type is a Superbase row list of employees. Now let's say the index, the sort index, right? The index in which we want to sort by. So we're just going to call it index. That is okay. An integer. And the next argument that I want to specify is the sort order, like is it ascending or descending. So let's just call it order. This order is a boolean. So we have this that I want to use to sort our function. Now we can come to Copilot, and this is where the magic happens. If you don't want to like follow what we have here, or if you know how to write a sorting algorithm to a sorting function, that's cool still. But it should look like this. We have bool is ascending, int, sort column, index, whatever. But you define your data type how you want to use it. Okay. So our sorting, let's use the Copilot to say, let it generate a sorting function to sort a list of employees that has say ID, name, department, like all those columns that we have. So let's say sort list of employees based on ID, name, department, salary. It's very important, like they will supply this order in the function just so that we can use it like in any order. We have position, and then before department, then salary. So let's do that. So position, remember this is prompting. We are prompting the AI to generate the code. So it's very important how you craft the prompt. So what we are saying is sort a list of employees based on ID, name, position, department, salary. So if we generate this code, let's see what it's going to give us. Hopefully it's going to give us something correct. But yeah, that is what I've used several times, and it gives me the correct answer. So we're just going to wait for that to go through. And yeah, you see the function looks correct already. So we are going to copy this function. Yes, we copy into our current code. And let's just go through the function. So it's going to switch based on the index, of course. If the case is 0, then employees are sort A to B. It changes the order. Exactly, this is what we need. This is what we need, and this should work very well. So I'm just going to save this function, and this is the function that we are going to use to do our sorting. That is easy to do. Very, very easy. We're using the Copilot. Remember, the prompt, the way you prompt the Copilot is going to determine the way it gives you out that response. So this right here, you may want to like look at this function actually and see if it really covers all what you need. But since you want to just implement sorting based on the index, I think this case is going to work perfectly well. You can also do based on the name. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm going to save and compile my function, and this should be good to go. So back here now in our code, to actually do the sorting so that it works is on this data table. What do we want to do? Like when it sorts, we open the action editor on sort changed. When sort changes, what do we want to do? Remember, we have all the entries that are being displayed in the data table as a page state variable. We have all those entries as a page state variable. So to have the new sorted data display, we just need to update that page state variable. I hope that makes sense. So we come here on state management. They'll say update page state. And what do we want to use to update it? We want to update this list of employees with what value? Set value, what value? The value returned from our custom function. Remember, our custom function returns a list of employee roles. So we're going to say here, custom function is a new employee sorting function. This is the one that I created. So I'm going to click on that one. The employees, the original list of employees, which is our app state, our page state, list of employees, we pass that in, confirm. The index is our data table sorting index. So we click here and we say data table sort column index, confirm, and that has been sent. And the order in which we want to set is the data table is ascending. So this is just going to be toggling, to be toggled based on the particular index that is being sought. And now we can also add. Currently we are sorting based on the ID. Now we can also do sorting based on the name, and that has been done without any waste of time. So let's also add sorting on this name column. So sortable, I'm just going to toggle that on. And I think our code is still not done compiling our custom function. Let's do that, and then we refresh our test mode. Okay, so here is our table. So let's just view 10. And if everything is working well, we should be able to sort based on this index. Let me see. Click. And that is it. We are sorting. We are able to sort based on this index. And we should also be able to sort based on the name. Alex. I don't know what page we are on, but yeah, now it's starting from William. So descending order and ascending order. That's the sorting. We have not implemented sorting on department and whatnot. So that is how you can do sorting on your data table. Now the next thing, let's go to see how we can implement search. Now to get the search working, what we need is just like a simple search bar and an icon that does the search. So above this container, I'm just going to add a row, then put the search bar and the button side by side. So we have our input field here, and we have our search button by the side. So the way search works according to this thing, Flutterflow documentation, is we need to make use of the simple search functionality, right? So to actually do that, since we are using Supabase, the process is a little bit different as compared to if we're using, say, Firebase. Now Firebase, we can just, like, if we do like a simple search, take for example, let's come here to the actions to type a simple search action. The simple search, and you see that the simple search is available to search on device. Now what do we want to search by? If we had used, or if we were using something like Firebase, it will be super easy to just search like the whole collection that we are fetching. Like this, if you come on like this, you can just say Firebase collection, and then you select the collection that you want to search with, which is very simple. But in this case, since we're using Supabase, and this should work in either case, we want to search based on strings, right? So, and what is going to happen here is we need to map like the list, or want to specify that search so that it's search based on the employee names, right? So the data that I want to search on is the pasted variable that we have, list of employees. Then we map the data, map list of items, and we use just the name. So we want to map and search only on the name. I don't know if that makes sense. What search term do we want to use? We want to use the widget state text field that we have here. So whatsoever thing that we are typing on that field to search, we are going to search based on just the name column of our Supabase data that we have fetched. So real quick, since we are mapping our search to the list of names from this our Supabase data, let me just show you real quick what that search data is going to hold, like after searching what is going to hold, so that we know how we can translate that to hold like a list of Supabase records. Hopefully that makes sense. Below in this container, I'm just going to add a row, and inside the row I'll just add a text. So let me add a text element here and set a spacing of about 10, just so the data shows very well. Now what do we want to do? This row, we want to generate children to be from our search query. So I'm just going to say search res to be our search results. We generate children to be our simple search results, right? So I'm going to click that, confirm, and confirm. And we have to go in. We are going to have children generated dynamically. And what do I want to do? I want to display those results here so that we actually see what I mean. So I'll click here on this icon and then search item. That's just all we need. And if I run on test mode, so we have this, and if we scroll down, currently our search result is showing empty. So let me type John up here, because we know there's a name that starts with John, and we search, right? You're going to see these are the names that are showing: John Doe, Maya Johnson, whatsoever Johnson, Alice Johnson, all these Johnsons. So these are just the names. Again, we cannot have we cannot have that data displayed here on the table because we have not updated or have it to be presented that way. Currently, we have our search results just matching the names of the employees. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is the data that we need to translate in a way that it should be like a Superbase employee role. So we need to map this name against our Superbase column, against our Superbase data so that it shows. Anyways, let me just show you. I think I can better explain doing it as compared to trying to find the English to describe what we need to do. Okay, so what do we say we're supposed to do? Back here on this search, after searching, we don't want to just update like the previous app state that we have of list of employees. We don't want to update that because it's going to override like everything that we had before. It's going to override all the list of employees, and maybe that's not what we want. Because what happens now when you cancel the search? What happens when you don't want to search anymore? So what we're going to do here is let's just create another app state, or sorry, another page state to hold like search employees. I think that's the only logical way. Searched employees, and this should be Superbase row. The table name is employee, and it's a list. After searching, what do we want to do? We want to update the searched employees page state with the results from our search, our simple search. Now we know for a fact that our search result returns a list of usernames or names that matches the particular user for that search query. So to update our searched employees page state, so we come here, update page state. What state we want to search employees? This is the state I want to update. What do we want to do? We want to set the value. Now, how do we actually get that value? To derive that value, we need to filter from the original list of employees, right? So come here and we say page state list of employees. Then we filter items, filter list items based on the list of items that we have in that our search results. I don't know if that makes sense. So we have like say 3,000 employees. There's just about, let's say, one person that has John Doe and some other person has Janet Johnson or whatsoever thing, and they happen to be the names returned from our search query. So we want to filter the list of employees just with those that match the name. So what filter condition do we want to use? We want to use simple search result. Available option is list contain item. If the list contain what item? The item in index, right? The item in index is this index that was filtering the list of employees. Item in list, the Superbase row name. So we are saying that if an entry in this our simple search results matches the name of this our filtered item, this item that I want to filter by, then that's what I want to assign to that search results page state. I just hope that makes sense. Now that we have gotten this, we need a means of displaying it to on this same data table, right? We need a means of displaying it to on this data table. And initially, the way search before Flutterflow came out with like conditional parameter or specifying conditional parameter, we had to use like the conditional visibility, the conditional page builder. They have it stated in the documentation, but now that they have this ability for us to set like conditional values, we can use that to our advantage. The reason I'm saying so is, for example, if we want to display like results that have been searched, we need to update like a page state that says show but search results. If we want to display like full result, like all the list of employees, then we also need to toggle that page state. But to just save us that stress, what we can do is on this our data table, instead of just specifying that the generated children should be list of employees, what we can do is we say if the search results actually has an item, then let it show the search results. Otherwise, let it show our list of employees. Hopefully that makes sense, because when we are not searching, there will be no list returned. There will be no item returned in our simple search. So the way we are going to do that is I come here, instead of this page state just displaying list of employees, let me cut this. So I'm just going to copy this variable, and what we want to do instead is not just generate the children directly here. We want to do an if conditional. So here we are going to do this, they will say conditional, where is it? Conditional if then else. So if our simple search results list of item is set and not empty, therefore if there's actually an item, then what do we want to display? We want to instead use our simple search, our page state called search employees, the one that we updated after each search. Otherwise, we just want to display a list of all employees. And this right here, my friends, is what we need for the searching. So I'm just going to save that. Now this is going to break our table briefly, but I really love what Flutterflow has done. We can switch that by specifying the return type. So we just specify the return type to be a superbase row, a list through, and what table name, employees. So doing this just fixes that. I don't know how it's going to look like for Firebase, but I suppose it's the same thing. But yeah, this is interesting. And now everything is functional. If we save and we come back and refresh our table here, we should be able to search and actually get the search display here. Now you can go ahead and implement like the cancel search, like to clear search functionality and whatnot, and you should have everything working very well. So let me refresh. Okay, so we have here currently it's showing like all the items that we have, 105 of 86. So if I switch to 10, yeah, we should still have like, this is like all the items that we have, because our search is currently empty. As you can see down here, there's nothing showing. So if I search, let me search with John, like let's search for John. I don't know why, because I know there's a lot of users with John here. So I'm going to search the keyword John, and you see this is the data, and this is the names that we have down here. This is just displaying, and this is the real data that we actually have. You see the IDs don't match or anything, but just users that have the name with something having to do with John are being displayed, and currently it's just about 11 of them. 10 is showing, and if we go to the next page, we're just going to see the one remaining. If we do something like Sarah, for example, Sarah, let me not add the H just in case, so we have some other thing, and we search, we are going to see just these two, and that is how we can implement our search functionality without actually having to use any custom function. As you can see, it's working very well. And now we've seen all of that. The next one we want to look at is selectable row, like performing an action when a particular data table row has been selected. Now the way Flutterflow handle this is when you select a row, it has but the index of the location of that particular entry. So it creates a list of all those indexes or indices. I think that's how they call it, plural, of all those indices that you can play with. And the documentation currently shows how you can probably fetch those selected rows using custom code to like get the rows and then manipulate or do whatever thing that you want to do. Yeah, you can either go that route to use a custom code to do it, but I'm going to show you how you can possibly do it without having to use a custom function. So this is just like it. This is the custom function that does the selection. So it receives the list of the record that you fetched earlier, then a list of all the indexes or indices that are selected, and you can then do all of these and then return the indices. So real quick, if we come below here, currently we have we are just displaying here, we are displaying the list from our search result. We can also try to display the list of selected rows, right? Now that is not available unless we have, or say until we have a button to click to make it available or to make it visible. Well, it's stated in the docs too. You need to trigger like call the data table selected row index to have access to the rows that have been selected. So let me show you real quick how we can display first off the list of rows that are selected, and how we can map the list of those selected rows to be like a list of our superbase row. So let's come down here. I'm just going to duplicate this row and then hide the previous one, or duplicate and leave it anyways. The above one is the one that shows the search result, and this one below should be showing the list of how do you call it, selected rows. Okay, now for selectable like rows that have been selected, what I'm going to do here is we need by default the data table has this property that shows that have like the indices of the rows that are being selected. So to actually make that visible, Okay, let me create this page state. Just say selected row item, selected row, just like that. Selected row, and it should be an integer because that's what, and it's a list of integers, right? I'm just going to save that. Now I will add a button here, just a simple button, that what is going to do is each time we click that button is going to just get the current selected rows and assign it to that pasted variable. Something very, very simple like that. So I'm just going to tie an action to this button here. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to show you how the index or how the selected row index are being held by the data table widget. So I'm going to say state management, update page state. What page state do I want to update? I want to update the selected row, which is a list of integer, and I want to set the value to be the data table. Let's go to widget state, the data table, selected rows, as you see, right? Then confirm, close. Now here on this row, I want to generate children. So let me remove this. I want to generate these children based on that pasted variable that I just created. So I'm just going to say selected to get from the page state called selected row. This is it, with a list of integer, confirm and save. And it's going to generate these children. And each item should be that selected row item. Yeah, selected item, confirm. Then I can just change the color to something else, just so it's able for we are able to identify like this belongs to that. Okay, I think we are good to go. I'm going to save and let's reload here and see what is actually going to happen. All right, so we are here, and let me just do this so we display like 10 items. Now, as you can see, these IDs are, this one should definitely be at position 0, position 1, position 2, and so on and so forth. So if I just select the first one, the very first one, and I click to view this button, I should see. Oh, it's not showing. I did not tie the action to the button. Actually, this is it. As you can see from the widget tree, I tied it on this column. So let me just click on this column so that we can see. Okay, unselect, unselect. So as we see, if we select this one and we click on this column, we should see, okay, 0. That's 0 being shown there because that is at position 0. If we select this 4, it should be at position 3 anyways, but it's just showing the position at that particular this thing. So if we click here, you should still see this list of items 0, 3, and 5. 0, 3, correct, and 5. And even if we go to another page and select an item from there, we should still see the particular index of that item displayed in that list of selected how do you call it, selected 24 selected rows, right? Okay, so now what we need to do is we already know that we have these particular locations. Again, if you want to go through like using the custom code or custom function that Flutterflow suggests you use, which I seriously advise you try out, or maybe use that because there might be some performance or whatsoever functionality things that are tied to that, why you may not want to use like this workaround I'm suggesting. But I'm just trying to bring about like, hey, there's a possibility that you can do this. So what we want to do now is we already know for a fact that this data table has the selected row indices, like a list of those indexes. So what we need to do now is instead map, like when we click on this button, we want to map it to the list of these selected employees that we have here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to remove this selected row because we are no longer going to be needing this particular variable. So I'm going to remove that. What I'd like to do regarding that now is to create a page state variable again to hold like the selected row items, right? Which should still be like a list of employee database, employee types. So I'm going to say selected employees. It should be a superbase row employees, and it's a list confirm. And here I'm instead going to generate children using selected the other variable. What is this variable called? Selected employee variable. So I'm going to come to page state. Instead of search employee, I'm going to say selected employees. This is the one that I want to use. And when I save, now I have to map this item to the employee name. Okay, So to do that, I'm going to do that selected item, get row fields, and let's just display the name here. So I think we are good to go. Now let's remove this action from this column there, and we actually tie it to this button. We know for a fact that when we select a row, we have a list of all the rows, the indexes of that particular element located in the list of all our rows. So to actually map that to form a superbase record, or to be a record in the superbase type, we need to loop through each selected row and then get the position that matches on that our original data table field. Okay. Now on this button, what we want to do is we need to map. Remember, I told you we need to map the data so that it shows. We currently have those indexes. Again, if you want to go through the custom function way, I seriously advise you try that instead. So we have all of the list of these items. To actually do like loop through it and then get the corresponding superbase row from our initial list of employees, we need a loop index, right? You know how we use loop in Flutterflow. So I'm just going to come here outside, and now I'm going to create a variable called index, right? Just call it index, and it's an integer. It's not nullable because it needs to have a default of 0 so that our loop doesn't break or anything. Okay, so we have that. We have our loop index. Now when this button is being clicked, what do I want to happen? I need to update the page state, right? To reset the selected employees first, because maybe there's another selected employee or there were employees selected before. I need to reset it each time that a selection is being made, or each time that that button is being made. I need to reset the previous entries or whatever data that was on this particular selected employee state. So I'm going to say update page state, and I'm saying selected employees, I want to reset value. Sweet. Then the next action here comes my loop. So I'm going to add a loop, and what I want is for my loop index less than number of items in our data table selected rows, right? Because we are looping through the data table selected rows. So I want to say for single condition for my loop index. Remember, my loop index starts from 0. For my page state loop index, less than, like strictly less than, and not less than or equal to, because we are looping. We don't want it to go out of band. The second value should be the length of our, where is this thing? We just state data table selected row number of items. So I want to loop through all of this. Now for each, what do we want to do? We need to update our page state, our selected employees page state, by adding the employee that matches the index of that particular selected row. I don't know if that makes sense. So state management, update page states, add field, selected employees, right? What I want to do is add to list. What do I want to add? I need to add the value of my original list of employees that matches that particular index that I'm currently looping at. Okay, so I'm going to say page state list of employees, item at what index? Say item at an index. I want to specify the index, specific index. Which index? Which index? Since we are looping through the list of selected rows, I need the item, the index of that particular selected row that we are on. So I'm going to say, where is it? We just state data table selected row, right? Item at index, the index of that current our variable loop, specific index, the loop, page state index, right? Okay, again, let me explain this thing. So we have here, we are looping through our selected data table selected rows. And we are saying for each data table selected rows, imagine this is the list of indices that are in that data table selected row. So this one is at index 0, this one is at index 1. So we are saying for each of this index, we want to fetch from our original all employees, the value that is at this particular index 3. That is what all of this logic does. So we are getting the loop at this particular index that matches the index that we are currently looping on. We are getting the value at this particular index that matches the index that we are currently looping on. So I'm going to save and confirm. And when that is done, what do I want to do? I need to update the page state. Which page state? Increment this our loop index, right? The index that we are looping on. So I'm going to say add action so that it iterates like it's one after the other. State management, update page state. Again, if this looks so complex to you, see how you can get it done with the custom code. But yeah, and I want to increment. So increment by 1. Remember, if our loop finish is done running, I want to reset this our loop index back. Right, I want to reset it because if we had like 6 items selected and we don't reset, the loop index is going to be 6. And so each time that we need it to run, it's going to start back from that 6, and that is not a logical thing to do. So I want to reset this value. And this right here, my friend, is what we need to actually get that loop to display the data that we have. We can make use, like, say, all those items that we have selected. If we want to delete, we set like a global like action here to do the delete or a list of things to just do something with the data. But that is how we can get that data and use it for whatever thing that we want to do. Now if we run on test mode, you should be able to see what we just did in action. All right, so here we are, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say list out. Okay, this 5 is okay, but let's list out 10 so that we can have options to select more. And if we select these two, Jane Smith, and we click on this button down here, okay, 2, okay, so click on this button, we should see the name Jane Smith here. Yeah, and now this is just making use, or is making available all the whole entry, like the whole Supabase row, and not just the ID or not just the name. So you can do a lot of things with that data. So if you click here on this button, we should see Jane Smith, Mike Johnson, and David Wilson whatsoever. So that's just that, guys. The next thing we want to look at is how we can view, edit, or delete a particular row that is available on our data table, and so that it can reflect to on our database. So for that, I'm going to switch back to this old design that we had. And what I just have here is just like an icon button, like a row under this data table cell, or is it data table cell? I have this icon button, I have this other one that for edit, and I have this one for delete. Now for the view, when I click on the view, it's going to open this component that I created. And what does the component do? The component simply has employee view. This is a component. It receives an employee row as a component parameter, right? This is it up here. So it receives an employee row as a component parameter, and in this component now I just display the name, I display the position, and I display the salary here, the full salary. Then I tie an action here that, like, when you click this thing, it closes the component, dismisses the bottom sheet. So back here, when you click on this eye icon, to view the particular details of an entry in that our data table, it's going to just simply open the bottom sheet, that view employee component, and then pass the parameter, the current employee parameter. I don't know if you understand. Come here on employee item. Since we are looping based on that page state list of employees, so we have access to this particular item to pass to that our component. So that is how you can send data to a component in order to view, and just simply overlaying this component over here, we can see that information that particular entry has. The same thing happens for this edit icon. So what I did was, when you click to edit, it's simply going to pass the employee information to the edit employee components, right? And on the edit employee components, what I have here is just a form, 2 forms. So it receives an employee row, which is our Supabase row, as a component parameter, then displays the default, the name that it receives from that row here as an initial text,
the salary as an initial text. So you can modify this, and when you click update, this is how it updates. It's going to, you see, update rows. What row? An employee rows. What is it going to match? It's going to match based on the ID, right? The ID of the row should be the ID of that um, employee parameter, that component parameter that we received in that component. So it's going to match that. And what fields do we want to modify? We want to modify the name to be the text value and salary to be the text value. Then we dismiss the bottom sheet, right? That is how the update works. Similarly for the delete, when you click on this delete icon, what is going to happen is it's going to just ask you like open this alert dialog, this confirm dialog for you to confirm, saying do you want to delete this user. Then I display the username, and this is just like combined text. And if you confirm the response like you want to delete, it's going to just delete where the ID matches, right? Where the ID is equal to that employee ID, and then it refreshes the backend query that we had on the page load and assigns it back to the page state after deleting, because since we have our data stored in that page state variable, just deleting like this not automatically going to refresh. We need to query the new data without the one that we have deleted. So it's going to query that and then update our page state, our total list of employees, right, with a response from this query that we did. So our list of employees, then we do that. Why? Because here we are displaying this data on our data table based on that our particular page state. So if all of that is functional, you should have something like this. We should have this thing that we can click here, this eye icon that we can click to view. Let me demonstrate on the live version. This thing is taking a while to load. So let me demonstrate here on the live version on the web that I've published. So this is the version of the app that this is the version of the app that I published. So if you click on this eye, yeah, you see the data, this particular user, and everything is functional as it's supposed to be. So we click here, we have Sarah Lee, then we can close. And if we select a couple of columns and then see selected employees, we should see their names down here. Let me unselect all. Then we can search and do all these other things. So let's delete Sarah Lee with 8. And if we delete, it's going to delete Sarah Lee. Then refreshes this data.
Thank you guys for watching. So if you found this video useful or you like the content that I put out, please consider subscribing. It really motivates me and helps the channel to grow.
So guys, that has been Datatable. That has been everything you need to know about Datatables in Flutterflow. Again, thank you for watching very much, and yeah, see you around. Bye bye.